Welcome to our installation guide for Cretus Industrial Sand TS. You will learn the steps to successfully apply the 3 Cretus coatings in this system. All of this information is contained in the System Action Guideline for Industrial Sand TS. This can be found in the back of the Industrial Sand Installation Guide at Cretus.com. Before you begin, make sure your concrete is properly prepared. For more information, watch our job site and concrete preparation video. It can also be found at Cretus.com. This system contains a base coat with broadcasted sand, a cap coat, and a top coat with a total thickness of 1/8 of an inch. If outgassing is suspected or prevalent, or if the concrete is in poor condition or very porous, a prime coat may be required. If moisture vapor emission rate is greater than 3 to 10 pounds, select a system with a higher moisture tolerance, beginning with the base coat, which is top shelf epoxy. In a clean 5-gallon bucket, combine 1 gallon of clear Part A and 16 ounces of colorant. Make sure the area has good ventilation. Mix thoroughly until color is uniform. If the Part A is pre-pigmented, use your mixing drill to make sure the color is uniform in the container before adding it to the bucket. Add 1/2 gallon of Part B and mix for 2 minutes. Remember that epoxy cures faster in the bucket. You want to get it out of the bucket and onto the floor as efficiently as possible. Pour a small amount into a bucket and brush around perimeter cove, stem walls, and around obstructions. Starting in the back and working your way out of the room, pour the material in lines across the concrete. Spread with an 8 to 12 mil squeegee by pushing or pulling it through the material at an angle that allows the epoxy to flow down the blade and onto the uncoated area. For thicker applications, a 15 to 20 or 25 to 30 mil blade can also be used. If you pull the squeegee through the epoxy, you'll get closer to 12 mils. Pushing it will be closer to 8. Coverage rates are for estimating only. In general, an uneven floor will give you a lower spread rate, and a flat floor will yield a higher rate. The mesh size of the sand you are about to broadcast will also affect the thickness. Consult the System Action Guideline to find the coverage rate you should be looking for. Back roll with a 3/8 inch non-shed nap roller that is 18 inches wide to level the material. Long, light motions should be used to avoid pushing the epoxy and altering its thickness. Follow behind and cross roll in a direction perpendicular to the back roll. 5 minutes from the time you began squeegeeing, you should begin your broadcast. Wearing spiked shoes, broadcast your 20, 30, or 60 mesh quartz sand into the base coat. The easiest way to achieve an even broadcasting refusal is to fill a 5-gallon bucket halfway and fling the sand out over the coating. Continue this until the base coat can no longer be easily seen underneath. Apply as evenly as possible and allow the coating to dry. Recoat times are different for each Part B hardener. They can all be found at Cretus.com and on your products at a glance. When the material has dried, go back and remove all the sand that did not stick. Any combination of these methods will give you the best results. You can use floor scrapers and push brooms to dislodge and gather any sand that isn't firmly locked into the coating. Scrape and sweep the sand into piles. Then dispose of it using pans, shovels, and buckets. You can use dust-reducing commercial-grade vacuums to withdraw large amounts, and shop vacs for corners and around obstructions. A leaf blower can be used in areas where thick clouds of dust in the air are not a problem. After you've withdrawn all of the refused sand, Inspect the coating to find any bald spots or holidays in the broadcast. Almost every broadcast will have some, and patching them is nothing to worry about. Brush a small amount of your cap coat material into the area and spread pinches of sand to cover. A double broadcast can also be done to hide imperfections and provide a more aesthetically pleasing look. After patching, you can proceed immediately to the cap coat. The cap coat is also pigmented top shelf epoxy, and the mixing instructions are exactly the same as the base coat. The system action guidelines for all cap coats can be found in the back of the Industrial Sand Installation Guide. Again, start by brushing around perimeter cove, stem walls, and around obstructions. Pour in lines and spread by pulling a flat, rigid squeegee through the material at an angle, allowing the epoxy to flow down the blade and onto the uncoated area. This coating is intended to lock the sand into the system and help mask any imperfections. The coverage rates are different depending on the mesh size of the sand. Find yours on the System Action Guideline. Back roll with a 3/8 inch non-shed nap roller that is 18 inches wide to level the material. Long, light motions should be used to avoid pushing the epoxy and altering its thickness. Follow behind and cross roll in a direction perpendicular to the back roll. Again, using long, light motion to avoid roller lines. Recoat times are different for each Part B hardener. They can all be found at Cretus.com and in your products at a glance. The top coat in this system is pigmented polyaspartic with anti-slip bead 100. The System Action Guideline for all top coats can be found in the back of the Industrial Sand Installation Guide. Pour 1 gallon of polyaspartic Part A into a clean 5-gallon bucket. Add 16 ounces of polycolorant and mix for 2 minutes. Add 1 gallon of polyaspartic Part B and anti-slip bead 100. Mix for 2 minutes. Make sure the anti-slip remains suspended in the material throughout its time in the bucket. This may require a quick remix before spreading on the floor. Again, start by brushing around perimeter cove, stem walls, and around obstructions. Pour in lines and spread by pulling a flat, rigid squeegee through the material at an angle, allowing the polyaspartic to flow down the blade onto the uncoated area. This is also a coating that will have good anti-slip qualities and act as a first line of defense for the system. Coverage rates are different depending on the mesh size of the sand. Find yours in the System Action Guideline. Back roll with a 3/8 inch non-shed nap roller that is 18 inches wide to level the material. Long, light motions should be used to avoid pushing the polyaspartic and altering its thickness. Follow behind and cross roll in a direction perpendicular to the back roll, again using long, light motions to avoid roller lines. Remember that this is your final coat and the only one your customer will ever see. It should be clean, consistent, and complete. Thank you for your attention to this video, for your interest in Cretus Industrial Sand TS, and all of our thoughtfully designed coatings.